the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
As I always said, Earth is a nursery where it creates that seed, that bulb, and it takes you buy it, and then you plant it, you water it, and then it gives you that flower. I was in Amsterdam this few days for work of the Keshe Foundation, and I love Amsterdam because it doesn't matter, whenever you pass through the airport, they have tulips. And people from all over the world going through Amsterdam buy these onions or the tulips to take it to their nation, or to their country, or to their home, doesn't matter. And Earth is that flower shop. Is that nursery where the flower shop gets its flowers and its onions. It's a seed where it plants the seed of the soul of the man, which needs that little ignition to start a cycle. As I said in the past, to get to feel the strength to come together in a space takes billions of years, and especially for them to become a plasma, where now the soul of the man, through the life of the man, 50, 60, 100 years on this planet, creates that seed. Now you just need to let it loose, and then those fields in the universe which were coming to become the seed of the something to start, already have the onions, or what we call the seed of the soul, for it to grow. If you go to Scotland, they do what we call shrimp sit, 1 day shrimp or 3 day shrimp. The people who are in the shrimp world, they go to Scotland and they buy 1 day old shrimp, and they take it to Africa, and then they let it grow. Where in Africa, for them to grow that, there is no facilities. So it's the same. The universe has the earth as the seed for that to be faster to create the next generation. You have to understand the light of, the knowledge of, the essence of the creation of the Creator is so fast, and is so vast in its vastness that it needs it to find a point of control, amalgamation and creation. And the soul of man is that greenhouse. Sometimes when I hear the scientists talk about the greenhouse effect and the earth is getting hotter or whatever, I laugh. I said, God created this greenhouse to create the soul of the man. What the hell are these people talking about? So this is why when you build a greenhouse, when you put the flowers and the plants in it, you go and check to see how beautiful they are, how they are growing. If there is any infection, if there is any diseases, you correct it. And this greenhouse called Earth gets serviced by the Creator to see what it needs to be done, how it needs to be corrected, how you get the disease of killing and everything else out of the man. And then he sends what we call the gardeners, the teachers, to polish it, to perfect it, that goes out as a perfect seed. And that's our job. So the earth is that nursery. And the Creator loves this nursery because it was created by Mitra. And is looked after by his love and needed to be corrected and be perfected. Now it reaches that point which reflects its true essence of love. When you buy a flower from a florist, you will feed two things. If he sells you a flower he bought from a market, a plant, he just gives it to you. But if it's a plant which he grew and he sells it to you, he gives you love, information, and love about that because it's part of him. So it's the same with the man. The soul created on this planet is done, touched by the love of Mitra, and God has hand in it. And he has to be perfect. So when it goes out in the universe, it becomes a perfect tulips. And one lip of Creator and one lip of Mitra. When they kiss, it creates a new life.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the 545th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, July 4th, 2024. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute Education Department, and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I will be host once again in this ongoing series of weekly workshops with Mr. Keshe of the Keshe Foundation. And I believe he's ready, willing, and able to present today's workshop. And we'll start that now. Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Oh, thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, day to you. As usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this, series of knowledge seekers of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. We are back here to learn more about ourselves than anything else, where we came from, where we are going to, and what's happened to us while we are here. In the past few months and past recent time, I've been pondering on why mankind has a problem to understand the plasma technology. what is the mindset that has brought this about, and how man cannot see the, what I call, beyond the horizon of his life, of life and living. In a way, the biggest problem for man, as I've said many times, man is known in the space as a four-wheelers, as a wheeler nation. We are used to cartwheels, we are used to wheel of the cars, and have seen and observed that as to be a process of emotion where we gain direction, and we can go in that way. Unless we turn the wheel a little bit to the left or the right, we change direction. And making a, what I call, a circle on top of the wheel of the circle, what we call our technologies, be it the car, be it the cart, be it the wheel itself, we can't do much different. And this is where the difference between the mankind and the rest of the universal community comes, and changing this four-wheeler, thinking about the wheel, to become the, what we call, the universal passengers, or people who understand the work of universe, where it works on their sphere. To change a man to think in a spherical shape, a spherical dimension, being able to move on a ball than on a wheel, is the biggest problem for man to understand this new chapter in the knowledge of the man. How long will it take us to change the understanding of the man from a wheeler to a sphere? It will be the time needed for man to mature. Those who can think as a sphere, then they can see the path to what I call direction of universal life. Even those of you who sit or think or see a ball, a light in the phases of a teaching or the test we do, you always see it, most of you see it as a light in front of you, as a shining light. But you never see it, or some of you don't see it, as a rotating sphere. You see a wheel rotating on its axis, but you can't see the light to be rotating on its axis in a spherical shape. How long will it take me and the rest of the, what I call, knowledgeable people, to change man from three-dimensional of the one direction, the sphere, to three-dimensional rotation in a, what I call, life, from the rotational direction of the wheel? That's the Hercules job. This is why most of you as knowledge seekers, and most of those who come in touch with this technology of the creation, have a problem. You are able to stop a wheel with a brake, with whatever, but you cannot stop a sphere from rotating as a plasma. And if you speak to the man of the universe, understanding this, they laugh at the whole condition, situation, and the dilemma that the man has got himself into. We are puzzled when we see rotating firework in what we call circle in the Chinese firework, how the light flashes and what goes. But if we change it that it goes in another direction, we are in a big dilemma. But in fact, a sphere is that spherical shape of that firework. You see the firework or coming from one end of the wheel to the other and rotates. Now you have this firework in every direction on the sphere of what I call a plasma, what you see as a light. How long will it take me to get you to see the rays coming from a sphere and not from what I call a wheeled circular shape? That is the time will take for man to mature. In a way, if you look at it, man is two-dimensional in thinking, understanding, and the structure of the work of his own soul, where he has to become three-dimensional in a spherical shape. We look in how this sphere, this creation of light, this creation of life could be rotating as a ball and emits light. The biggest problem we have, even we look at the sun, which is another what I call soul, from Earth, we primarily see it in a flat two-dimensional. That's why we cannot change our mind. The mindset, the understanding to look at the ball, at the sphere, is three-dimensional. Because of our vision, we see it more or less at two-dimension. A flat circle, we call it the sun. We don't see the sun as a sphere, as a ball. And if we do, if we can reach that point of working with a sphere of light, of energy, man will change the course of the history of himself and humanity. Changing a man from a wheeler life to a sphere life is one of the biggest challenges. Past few days in meetings with eminent scientists and some engineers and the rest, I try to understand if they see the difference, but to them, even being so called titled, this was something unimaginable. And I see them laughing. In a way, they laugh at their own lack of knowledge, of understanding about their own creation. And this is where most of you as knowledge seekers have run into a problem when we speak about the plasma, when we speak about the dimension and direction in the structure of the life of the man. Somehow, we have to bring this into vision of the man to feel the life of himself as a sphere structure and not as a two-dimensional structure when it comes to his soul. Then you can decide the direction. You decide which strength do you want the fields to come to you, or do you send the fields out in the dimension of the full structure of 360 degrees, not a flat 180. Then, if you can reach that point, then you see interaction of different fields. Then you see interaction of different, what we call a strength. Then you understand the ray which is coming from the South Pole most probably is already connected to another field of the North Pole, and it is not on the same side as they've drawn it and we've seen it, and then it's connected to another field of the strength with another sphere and the rest of it. Other problem which you have as knowledge seekers, and is becoming more and more clear over past years, is that you have learned to burn fuel, you have learned to do work to achieve the circulation of this wheel that allows you to move in one track direction. Unless you put an axle on it and change it, it can change its direction. And it still needs another spherical rotation to come back to the same point. But this does not happen when it comes to the sphere shape of your soul, sphere shape of the work of the universe. And this we see especially when it comes to our scientists on the edge of their claim to knowledge, to understand whatever narrow-minded they are. The biggest problem for you knowledge seekers is to understand the straight line rotation according to the direction of the, what we call axis of the wheel, does not apply when it comes to the spherical shape of the soul of the man, the work of the universe and the rest. You cannot jump with a wheel up, because when it's in the air, it does not have a, what they call traction on the surface that it can allows it to jump forward. You have not made much difference even when you make your jet engines. The jet engines are still another fast wheeler rotation, but a combination of passing something through it. The turbine is nothing but a flat wheeler, but with different shape of many together. And if man understand this, and then you understand when it comes to the spherical shape, you do not need attraction. You don't need to be connected, because as a plasma field, you're hanging all the time in the air. You're hanging in the sphere of the field connection with the others, which they really perk you up. For a wheel to show, needs to be connected to the source. You call it an engine, you call it whatever. In the spherical shape of the plasma, you don't need that. You're hung in the middle. And to be hung in the middle, you need to have many fields that does not allow you to move in any direction but rotating where you are. If one of the fields becomes slightly weaker or one becomes slightly stronger, the whole structure has to agree with the movement and the new position and the direction. Then it comes what we call the emotion and intention. In the structure of the matter state wheel, you need engine and then a wheel to change direction, the motion. In the spherical shape soul of the man, is your intention and emotion which drives this system. By taking strength from a field or giving strength from to the field from other sources within the strength. If I could get you knowledge seekers and mankind to think in a spherical shape and understanding it, then all of you can be transmute. All of you will see the balance where it is the intention and the emotion for you to gain direction, to go to come back from. As the old children's song says, the wheel of the bus goes round and round. The wheel of the universe rotates on its axis. It goes round in circular, a spherical shape in all direction and dimensions, and not only on one direction as the wheel goes on the bus. And what mankind needs to understand is the working of the plasma. Understanding, even he walks on this planet, The soul of the man in the center of his brain is hanging on, is not attached to himself, to the physicality of the man. Then mankind will come to understand the process of life, the way man is in the universe. Attachment comes by walking this earth. Detachment comes when you're the soul within this body, which you have no physical contact with. There is no umbilical cord between the soul of the man and the brain of the man. Then you understand, partially your physical brain is containing this field, and partially the fields of the universe are hanging it in there. You're just providing close protection. The rest of it is still connected to the universe. Then this will bring a lot of new dimensions of understanding. For example, what happens when you go to another dimension, another position in the universe, and calcium does not exist? The field strength of the calcium in this environment does not exist. The field strength of the calcium in the solar system is part of its inherent structure, but not necessarily to the next solar system to us. What happened when you land there and you want to stay in the body of the man? Unfortunately, you'll be a bunch of jelly on the floor. There is no containment of the brain with the skull. There is no bone structure. And what happened when you go to a structure in the universe where calcium is the what we call the iron of this planet? It's the main backbone structure of the fields. We know this, what happened to us. We saw it with COVID-19. Calcification of the energy of the universe in the body of the man. We saw how body choked up. We saw how everything else became a bone. It's the first time we had the technology to observe the movement, the change of the fields to the matter state within the structure of the body of. And if you understood, you took the cup 1 or a cup 2 or whatever, you strengthen the soul, you change the condition of the fields of the body of the man, and you said, oh, the cup 1, cup 2 save helps, because it's not a cup, it's the energy which you change in the structure of the body, that the level change from calcification to a normal condition. Again, part of that, the structure came through the what we call the field strength of the soul of the man, working 3-dimensional, detached from the physicality of the man. The soul of the man is a spherical shape, lives within your brain, has no physical connection to your body, but hangs in the middle and controls your life. Unfortunately, it does not have a directional rotating leg of the man to go one way or another. And the shape of the skull of the man, the shape of the brain of the man, decides how it hangs through the fields, or what we call engagement of the fields of the brain of the man. Then you understand how easily, once this engagement, once the cage magnetic field strength disappears, this thing now hangs to what it was connected beyond, to the magnetic field of the universe. And at that point, this, what I call spider webs of the field of the universe, will spring it to where it'll find a balance, and where the soul of the man will manifest itself as a seed of another life, as a star connection and a startup. In a way, the soul of the man, being a spherical shape, does not work the wheel shape, is hung in the center of the brain of the man by magnetic field pressures, which nowadays you call it whatever, tokamak and the rest, you've seen how it could look, but it has two different sets of attachments of the fields to its structure. Near interaction fields, which is created by the brain, and the blood flow magnetic field, which holds it in this position. And when this weakens at the point of what you call transmutation, if you decide, or at the point of death, which the separation comes, there is no more containment, the cage breaks, the bird is free. The other strings which were connected to it in the higher field of strength, holding it and connecting it to this, what we call the rest of the universe, then they decide on which way and where this ball, this soul, this spherical shape of the energy will land and become its new home. That tulips, that onion, there's no choice because you bought it in your pocket. It's you who decides as the external force, while it's still life living inside it. I'm going to plant it in a pot. I'm going to keep it in the freezer till next year. I'm going to put it in the garden. You make the decision about that tulip bulb, because field forces of your imagination and dimension and direction decides the life of that bulb. In the case of your life, that bulb, that spherical dimensional thing you call your soul, once is in the hand of the shopkeeper, once is in the hand of the place where it was placed and kept as a bulb, as a flower, now is decided by you. You are that outside field which decides the next step, where it will land, according to your wishes, according to what was set by your imagination to be. Now you understand. Even at that point, you have to reach the point of destination. What I call the strings of the fields of the universe provide you direction. It's the energy within the soul which you gathered decides the dimension and decides in how to get to that direction, which is, in a way, is a balance field for the rest of your life in a dimension of the soul of the man, not the physicality of the man. Then you have to understand, step by step, in understanding the totality, you understand all those fields which still dictate in a way you're hanging on it, which gives you to the direction and dimension where to be, the next step, that's where is allocated for your soul to create a life. The next cycle of a star to create another dimension of life is still fields which come from the strength field of the creator. So he puts the seed in the womb of the mother, nourishes the soul, and now is time in the hand of the creator, which the field which was created by it, from it, through it, decides where this bulb is going to be planted. Then mankind understands. Still to get there, you are a spherical shape and there are no wheels. And if I could get mankind to understand this, 99% of the problem in handling it, in understanding their own existence and the direction and the dimension shall be done. In the coming weeks, as we go into the sessions of the July, August, September, in sessions I try to create for you to see how, where, and the way your soul is hanging in the universal field dimension, and as a backup or as a hidden strings you're hanging on it, then the structure of the magnetic fields of the brain of the man. We show you new dimensions that you decide which string and where you want to go by what I call the emotion. You decide which string will take you in this direction, where at the point of death, your dimension and direction is preset. Everything is going where you, the way you behaved, how many people you killed, how many people you loved, how many people you gave energy to that you received from, dictates your position. Going to the center, to the love of the Creator, to be enlightened, way on the edges of the doldrums of the life, when there is no light, and you're there till one day the universe of our Creator has expanded, that you expand to see the better fields of the dimension of and the existence of its existence. In a way, when we transmit you, you choose the spring from which part of the universe of strength you want to travel through. When you die in a physical dimension, it's already preset by your behavior, but how you want to collect it, what strength you brought within, that it decides you're stronger, you can stand in the dimension of the fields of the Creator, you can interact with it, or you're in the back door taking the wind. And the life of the man is nothing different by that. And one thing which is important for knowledge seekers and mankind to understand, you were hanging in the, what I call the fields of the brain of the man for 70, 80, 50 years. The question for you is how long you will hang in the new position. Or what would be the, what I call the contract of termination of the next cycle of life? Or do you become part of the bigger structure? Then you see the bigger dimension to the reality of the creation and the Creator. Those who could imagine different levels of connection have called it different things, different levels of the, what I call promotion of the soul. But in fact, those who were enlightened could see to understand the direction of the motion of the soul of the man, and how according to the strength it collects the fields it does, it finds its position. And then the question comes, what is the man fighting for? Do we fight for better clothes, bigger houses, and we do everything wrong in the dimension of physicality to get it? hidden to the others, but planned in our thoughts, in our emotion? Or do we plan to live in the dimension of the larger scale where our destiny is decided by us and not at the point of death, which is we come out of our own condition? If you understood this, I bring you a trigger point. I bring to you a new state of understanding. Does man need to wait for the final call? Or now that you're knowledgeable, choose the point of transmutation, not to escape from this physical dimension, but take this physical dimension where it does no wrong, that it finds itself in a, what I call dimension of perfection, that when that time comes, that the soul of the man will come to find new position, it finds itself amongst the higher strength, higher position, closer to the creator, that it becomes part of the creation itself. In a way, I have said many times, you always rain back to the ground. Would you be at the point where, due to choice, or what I call the final call, you become that vapor, that it goes higher and higher and away from the earth, from the creator? Or you gather enough and that allows you to go back, to rain back on and become part of the ocean of the creation in the dimension of the field of the universe? Those who choose either way will find out what they battle with and what they have to live with and how. And one thing is for fact: if you've seen the atmosphere of the earth, the vapor comes from one end and it rains on the other side of the planet. There is no difference with that and the soul of the man, the soul of all created things. We came from and we go back to. We become that vapor, we go away and we rain back on. We started as a dust, became a small planet in the far distance of this solar system, and on the way back we became the earth, we created life, and we rained back in to the mother, to the sun. It's just a matter of time. And this shall be for the soul of the man. And if the man understands that it works in three-dimensional, and it's him who decides which direction and which is strength. Maybe, as I always say, open your eyes to another dimension. In the upcoming times, we show you how you are connected, you are hanging in the, what I call the magnetic field of the brain of the man. We let you to see what is the attachment when you can decide to connect to the fields beyond the physicality of the man and find a new position. And then even after that, your life in the time of the planet Earth, 70 years or whatever, is a drop in the ocean of the time lifespan of the universe. And one thing is that, yes, everything is field connected, and you decide, or lifetime saving of the fields on this planet decides where your next position is, the question comes in a simple way. If you, and when you are positioned in the new by your own decision or by the time lapse of the last bell of the physical life and you have to leave, and you find a new position where you are hung by other fields like a puppet on the string, the question for you comes. I live 70 years man time on this planet, maybe 7,000 years in this new freedom of the position, or 7 billion years, or 70 billion years. The biggest question for you is, who's holding, who's controlling the string which I attached to hanging in that 7 billion years? Then you understand. Then at that point, there is a need for new knowledge to understand that level of the creation. In some books, it's referred to as 7 valleys. Man has not started. Man is just seated in the valley in a physical dimension of the number 1. And he has problem even with that for thousands of years to understand how the second level of the strings is holding on to. And when you get to that utter limit of the last valley, who's holding on to that? Who's the dictator? Who's the controller of that? That you're still hanging within his grasp. And then if you understand this, you can travel the full span from 1 to 7, or you can spend what I call time to mature 70 years, 70 million years, and 7 billion years, and go from one to another. Or you can gather enough, but in an instance, you reach the end, to the last point. Detachment by elevation of the fields of the universe, not attachment to the matter state of this planet. And everything we do wrong to take the last breath, just to keep the soul imprisoned, that we can physically control it. And in a way, subconsciously, we want to stay longer, that it can keep our soul imprisoned in this, what we call miserable life of this planet. This greenhouse that has become what I call the point where all the windows broken, everything shattered, and there is no greenery for the soul of the man to be in it, that it decides to break through it, so I call it the point of death. The only thing which is on the table for the man for the first time maybe is option not to, option to be able to choose to, option to create a condition that at the point of separation of physicality, be it in the physical dimension of the body of the man, in the dimension of the where the strings are holding to the soul of the man, he has the choice, and not is chosen for to be. And that's all the teachings are. Transmutation of the soul of the man in the dimension of the emotion of the man, decided by the man, and not sentenced to by those who control or have control over it in any dimension and any level. If you understand it, you do not need to be imprisoned within the physical brain of the man or attachment to the others, but connect yourself to the soul of the Creator, to understand the strength of the beauty of His power, and be part of that process of creation, where is your field string which holds many souls hanging in a perfection and in a dimension of creation. But this time the creation of the Creator, not creation as man on this planet. You have two choices. Up to now you had none. You waited your time, retired and sat in the bed. When the day comes, I go. This time you can decide. The physicality can be whatever I decide to take it with me. It's not that I kill, I get rid of. It's that I care for what gave me life, and I'll take it with me. That does not suffer in the dimension of physicality of the life of the man. Even though I can still exist within the dimension of physical life of the man within me. Today's understanding is understanding about yourself, that how you transmute. Up to now you didn't know, as I said many times. Now you know. Do you hang within the structure of the field of the plasma of the brain of the man? Or you, in a way, loosen the knot and go to the next step and hang and be, in a way, embedded within the fields of the universe. And if you understand this transmutation in three-dimensional essence of the totality, now is a reality and fact within the hand and the reach of the man. You have to choose. It's your option. You will stay the same as your, what we call forefathers, in the prison cage of the brain of the man until you are kicked out at the point of death. Or you decide the next step of it. I decide where the seed will grow and how it will grow, and I protect it within me. In a way, there is no difference between the life of the man, it's the soul of the man, the bulb, the life of the sun, the life of this galaxy, and the rest. It just depends where you want it to grow and how you decide it to grow. I hope your knowledge seekers understand what's on the table of the knowledge today. And I hope those of you who join us in the third week of this month will come to understand the more. Freedom does not need to become on a piece of paper for those who call themselves free man in the city of Ghent some 100 years ago. For those who call themselves Americans, and today is the day of freedom and actual slavery to the another nation. Even they thought they got freed, but they walked themselves in a bigger trap because they chose the wrong way. Those of you who are American, you call it today the 4th of July. But in fact, you chose the wrong direction. Your ancestors said, by walking from one thing to another in a bigger dimension of freedom, but in a way, the fields of interaction created new dimension. Another slavery of the man by another man on the title of the freedom. And I hope mankind does not make the same mistakes with his soul. And there are no treaties between the man and his creator to find freedom, but its own interaction and dimension of the field, and own interaction dimension of his emotion, that in a way brings his intention to what and where and how. And if you understand this, you understand more about your life and how you need to think three-dimensional, to think I'm not attached on one string, but I'm attached in every point to every string in the universe. One is connected to the mother and one connected to another. It's me who decides I go to the mother or I go to the other. And how often I visit the mother, because up to now it wasn't my choice. My wish was to see my mother for past 20 years. I never got there because I didn't know it's me who decides about the expansion of my soul. In fact, the mother has always been there, even has not been the dimension of physicality. I hope you understand the essence and not the words of the teaching of today. And if you understood that, you have matured yourself to the next level of life in the world of the creation. And does not mean that you have to end the life in the dimension of the physicality of the man, but it gives you access to leap both dimension and understand the totality of it. When you understand the truth about yourself and the fields within, I hope you've seen a bigger picture and you understand man does not need to be a wheeler, but he can be a sphere and finds a new dimension in the world of creation. Rick, if you can take us for a break, you may come back and hopefully we'll be able to enlighten each other.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you. Okay, we are at the 545th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, July 4th, 2024. We'll take a short break and be back with an opportunity to ask questions of Mr. Keshe. And I'll remind the attendees here in the Zoom that you can raise your virtual hand and then we can acknowledge you to open your microphone. And others can put questions in the chat in the YouTube or in our webinar chat here in the Zoom as well, or in the Q&A. Okay, we'll be back in a few minutes.
The new Horizontal Enhancement Spaceship Unit. A space technology that allows us to work with the fields of the universe, creating a wide range of plasma field interactions and conditions. It allows the body to process itself from any physical or emotional imbalance. Once this balanced condition is achieved, the soul and emotion of the body can follow to find their balance and elevate the whole of the man. The new Horizontal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, technology of the future through advanced plasma knowledge.
Okay, we're back again at the 545th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. And this is the second half, so we'll have that opportunity to ask questions. I see there is a hand up, but first I think we'll have to hear from Mr. Keshe, and he'll no doubt have some announcements or other things he'd like to say.
Thank you very much. As usual, yes. We always have something to say, otherwise we wouldn't been here for past, God knows, 10 years.
Yes.
Please, those of you who are in, I've seen a number of you rolling for the monthly sessions. We still need you to state the time and the place. Otherwise, you find out when the time comes, we don't know where to fit you. And then somehow you end up with those who are asleep at time and you hear a lot of snoring because it's not their time or your time. Please state to us where and how. And we'll try to link you up, and do not worry about it, but the sessions start getting very interesting with those of you who actually have reached and can reach the dimension of what we call transmutation. And it'll become one of the essence of part of this work. In the next few weeks, as we develop new systems and new technologies, we'll put another week or a Thursday session where all of the knowledge seekers can participate. But this time the job is not to participate, to be, is for us to elevate the soul of all of you in that process. To create a new cycle, the new generation of life. I'm looking forward for that as we come to that phase of the what we call completion of the work. I'll explain the reason why we do this in the coming time. But one of these days very soon will be another open teaching, open what we call connecting the knowledge seekers. The last time we had 300 odd people. And this time we'll touch your soul. We'll bring your soul to be involved in the dimension of the connection with the system. That we start the next cycle of what we call teachings worldwide. And I hope those of you who join us in that session, you'll enjoy it, because there'll be an experience you'll never forget. And it's as part of what we call, we used to do the blueprint. We'll do the blueprint of the travel of the soul of the man. And I'm sure many of you will enjoy that trip. You don't need to sign for it. You don't need to register for it. When our systems are ready, we'll bring you into play with it and understand about yourself. Are there any questions? We'll try to answer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. We have a hand up here, so perhaps we can begin with that. But actually, first, I'd like to address Ike's question, which was, he says, "Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Could you draw or give a visual representation of the teaching today? Understanding of the wheel 2 dimensions and spherical 3 dimensions, especially the direction of their fields." Is that something you would like to take on, or?
It is, I was thinking about to do that during the teaching, but I thought you as knowledge seekers are wise enough to see it. Let's see if this thing works. Yes, we found a problem solved. If this is the brain of the man, in a way. And if this is the position of the soul of the man, there is a womb of the soul, I call it, this spherical shape gap, which is created by the interaction between the fields of what we call the brain, or physical matter state, and other physical matter states beyond the physicality, and the fields from inside out. In position and understanding of physical, this is two-dimensional. You have to realize this is, in a way, another field to it. It's three-dimensional. And unfortunately, this thing has a connection to the gravitational magnetic field of the man, and with it, to stabilize itself, he has created a connection to it. We call the spinal cord. And we see the shape. The other half of this sphere, to make a full circle of the brain of the man, has been used for vision and everything else, that this guy gets his fields continuously. This is why when they when you block the breathing, you die so fast, because this thing directly, continuously takes energy to keep position. The death doesn't come by suffocation. The separation comes at the point that no fields reaches to create the balance, to hold on the balance. And as you travel in the three-dimensional, at the time of the death, in a way, this disappears. Now you are in the hand of the fields of the universe. Now you are detached from, and there is no dimensional control. Now you are passengers of the totality, in both dimensions and both directions. But in reality, now you're in a bigger structure control of the fields. You have changed the prison of the soul of the man, in this house, in the physical brain of the man, to be hanging in no dimension of the universe. Where the field forces at the time of the separation from the physicality decides where will be your next destination. To grow, ready for expansion. Two, and ready for the next real generations, which you are hung on again, and you did not know even at the time were in the physicality of the man. It's like an onion growing from inside out. You get to the next shell, and the next shell, and that bigger shell, which is beyond this shell, is the shell of what we call the creation. And then you'll understand, you come back into the circle of where you've been and where you started from. That's how simple it is. The cycle of life, not in the physical dimension of the man, but in the field dimension of the creation of the universe. Your cycle of life on this planet was restricted by the brain of the man, where your cycle of life in the universe It become part of a bigger structure. But here you were just a dot in the physical structure of the body of the man. Here you become part of the universe, which embraces the totality of what is within it. And this is in a way, if you understand what it says, I come from and go back to. Either way is true. You come from the creator in the cycle of physicality, and you go back to become the creator. Created out of creation of myself. And this is what life is in a bigger dimension of the creation. We just keep on changing to the bigger dimension. And in a way, if you look at it, till we have no strings attached. And then we become truly detached from the totality, where in a way we are the beginning and we are the end. Come from and go back to. Then what are we fighting for? Any other question?
Very good. Thank you for that. Okay, Ed, would you like to go ahead, please?
Hello, Mr. Keshe. Good afternoon. It's still morning here in the U.S. As you taught this morning, the difference between waiting to die, and you've taught us when we die that the soul of physicality, right at the point of transition, it gives all its energy to the soul of the man and it departs. However, in transmutation, you have taught us that it's the interaction between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man that allows us to have the freedom to go and to transmute and to do many things in the universe. So what I was thinking, and I'm wondering if this is correct, is it the actual inclusion of the soul of the man as a strength of its own that gives the man this freedom, rather than just losing all its power to the soul where its fate is dictated?
Is bit of both and none of all.
Pardon?
It's a little bit of both
Okay.
and none of all of it.
Oh.
It's in a way you want to be driven or you want to be the driver. When you're a soul, within the physicality of the man, you're driven. And you have to follow. You can't jump out of the position of your, what I call, cage. When you drive, you decide where that physicality goes to. And man has that freedom now through technological development, understanding of the, what we call, physical matter. If you go back into the history of the man, maybe some of those who were messengers of their own village, and they were enlightened, of their own town, their own cities, could only pass the message as long as the voice could go, as long as they could walk to see others, to teach, to share knowledge. Now with the present communication system, we can reach everyone at every point. And it makes it easier to enlighten more people. And this is why when I teach, I say we teach in the voice of the man for the whole universe to be taught. As we teach at the level of the soul of the creator, not the physicality of the voice of the man. And this is what we call the whole universe enlightens. It's not just privileging a few called humans, and to the detriment of the others. As where they arrive, they think they are very special. But when we teach, it's like you are in the classroom and your classmates who sick sits on the what I call Zoom line in her bed or his bed and watches the teaching. Does not need to be present in the classroom. The classroom of today is the planet Earth, and the rest of the citizens of the universe are those who are at home, elevating the knowledge of their soul through the love of the creator, the voice of the teacher, through the soul of the man, through the soul of the creation. Then if we understand this, we now have the freedom to be in the classroom or to go for a week vacation or what we call choose, and still be connected, still learn the knowledge, but I do it from another part of the world than sitting in the classroom. And that's all the only difference is. Man has always had the freedom. Those who are enlightened, according to the time and place, they enlighten their village, the tribe, the city, and whatever. Now the teaching is universal. And this is one of the reasons we created universal councils. Man will understand what I call the gift to humanity by setting up the structure of Universal Council and its members. You have not even understood the work of it. And this is part of when you say you have a teacher and too many students, other students help to teach those who are not ready. And that's the job of the Universal Council. And this is part of the structure of the elevation of the soul of the universe and not the man only. And now you have the option, as I said, to stay in the class or to move in the far distances of your choice to live. And you have that freedom. You don't need to be connected. And you don't need to be part of, jammed in. I was explaining this recently with one of the knowledge seekers. The beauty with this technology, when you put it in the physical dimension, when you produce your own magravity, your own energy, your own food, through the fields of the universe, you do not need to sit within a cramped cities and live. If you understand transmutation, you can live on top of Mount Everest in the most luxurious freedom of the soul, then go to work in New York or Washington or London or Paris, because you can transmute. It's very much what I call European prison sentence. In some of the European countries, when you do something wrong, you don't become a burden on the nation. You work 9 to 5, 5 o'clock, you report back to prison and stay in prison. You don't have the freedom to go to the restaurant and the rest. But you're still free to come and go. And now that free jail card is given to the man, but man has to use it and has to understand how to use it and use it correctly. Because in the time to come, you will understand. While you're out of prison, you do wrong, you will not find your way back home just because you learned how to do it. You'll lose your way to it. And this is where it comes to the three ethos of Mitra. To do good, to act good, and to think good is the path to your own home. When you do one wrong, you lose the path and you lose the hope. It's the fear of losing the love, then the fear of losing the life. And the love always rules. Being able to give gives a man that destination of the time and place. And life does not need to come to an end by end of a breath or a bit of the heart. And this is what you got to understand, and this is the what we call the cornerstone of the teaching. You are given the chance, you're given the jail-free card. You can lose it as fast as you earn it. I always said, and what we call when a man forgets on this planet, he forgets about the son, the daughter, and where he lives. When a man forgets in the dimension of the universe, he loses his path to his creed. And I prepare to have Alzheimer's on this planet, where I can free the soul, then get Alzheimer's outside, when I'm in the freedom of the universe. Because then you have nowhere to go. Here, you're still encaged within the brain of the man's prison. And that's where the difference comes. Any other question?
I have a related question to that, is this ability to have both the soul of physicality and the soul of the man in the transmutation process or existence, is this a permanent arrangement if you manage to accomplish this? Or is there a point?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just wondering if there's a point in time you in your drawings and in your teaching, sometimes you tell us that at some point we become part of the totality, part of the creator. And I wonder if at that point we willfully give up our free will, so to speak, or our inclusion of the physicality, soul of physicality, to become part of that.
Have you ever seen a mother and a child?
Yeah.
When
Oh,
the child tells to the mother, I love you, mom, and the mother says to the child, I love you, my daughter. Which love is bigger? And which one is more sincere? Is it the love of the created, or is it the love of the creator? I witnessed that many times, and I always ask a single question. Or is it the intention of the mother who thinks how much she loves the child, that it triggers the child to speak the word, that the mother answers back in the verbal language, where before was through the soul and emotion? Next time when you see a child hugs a mom and says, I love you, mom, think if it comes from created, or is it coming from the creator? And how the creator holds, hugs the created with a true love. Because she wants to hear she's loved, as she created that love. Then you understand a lot about the world of creation and the creator, and how to behave. Even though maybe the child jumps off the lap of the mom and does something naughty, and the mother forgives, because the emotion of the feel of that love superpasses the misconduct of the child next second. And this is the story of the man where the creation is created and is created. And then you understand the next step. How we engage within the arm of the mother, or is it us who opens the arm to the mother? And is it the emotion of the child, or was it the thought of the mother which initiated the physical dimension of the man or the child? And then you understand, if you step further with it, does the mother shows the same love to the creator of that child, which is the man next to him? And when he cuddles and loves the man, is it the same love and a cuddle when he cuddles the child, which they both created from their own creation? And then you understand the process of the creation and truly where and how and what comes next to it. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have a number of questions in the Q&A from through Cristiano. Question from Fernando of the Brazilian community. Do I free myself from the prison of physicality with intention and awareness?
Suicide is forbidden in all realms of creation, which means jumping off the, what do you call it, the sequence of works. So you cannot end life in a physical manner just to get to the next. And transmutation is a way of living both dimensions till when the life in the physical dimension does not hold. There's an advantage if you learn transmutation and really understand the true essence of it, not just the game of it. In those who understand the full operation of transmutation and the possibilities and the joy it brings, will never die even in a physical condition. Because you, at the point of, what I can even call it, physical pain, you transmute to the physical dimension of the soul. And with that, you change the condition of physical condition. You can even move on to another position and dimension. This is what we do as a travelers. We decide where to travel and how to travel, and when to go back or carry on to the next destination. And this is the same true for the soul of the man and the physicality of the man. You cannot end life. It's forbidden, because then the full maturity point of the position of the soul is not achieved, is not reached. And then we become nomad in another position, because the soul itself has not decided its own destination of the freedom, even though it's attached to the others. Suicide, end of physical life in this life, and the others, when you become a bit wiser, is not allowed. But if you learn how to transmute, you can take the physical body out, even in its, what they call, old age, and allow it to live everlasting life in the dimension of the soul, in a way you carry it with you, for the love of what created you. This is what we do as universal travelers. Any other?
Okay, further questions in the Q&A from Andrea of the German community. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Hello, dear Rick. For my understanding, all animals have the same emotions, but why the most species cannot change the color of the skin? For example, an octopus can change the color of the skin, but not a shark, and both have the same environment. The whales and dolphins, also mammals like the man, should have the highest consciousness level of all animals, but can't also change their color. Can you explain more? Thank you.
We become more physical. We can do. Anyone can do. Any creature can do. It's not exclusivity, it's those who are aware of. And those who make different kind of condition for their existence. Years ago, when we did the first coma patient, I left the what do you call it, support because of the mother's misconduct. But the scientific world was still puzzled in how I brought life back to this woman. I wasn't aware of it. For me, the case was closed months ago, and nobody has ever done this. No one has ever brought a brain damage coma to life, to live. But as it was a surprise for the world of science and the scientists in Belgium, the word is spread apparently around the world, in the scientific world, that Keshe has achieved to bring a coma back with a brain damage to life. After about a year or so, not knowing what impact this job had, to me was something we tried. We brought the life back, and I gave the body to the family and the hospital, and everybody else did whatever they liked. The scientific world, and those days we were not talking about this, it was something hidden in the structure of the Keshe Foundation, was surprised and intrigued by how this was done. And that we can bring back. Naomi wasn't the first time we did this. I received a call from the doctor who was connected to the trial that they would like me to attend the university hospital in Belgium, where the Cambridge University scientists build a system to check the correctness of my work. They wrote a program, and the scientists in Tel Aviv University built a machine. To me, it was something we did a year ago. It was irrelevant, case closed, but it had such an influence on the scientific world that time that the scientists in 3 nations decided to see how Keshe and how much he has brought everything back. Has he just built the brain, or has he actually brought consciousness? And I was invited to be witness to it because they wanted to see my output into this process. I spent a day in the university hospital with this girl who had saved the life of a year before, with this gadget, which was like a mesh on her head, with the computers run by the Israelis and the Cambridge universities and the Belgium scientists together to see how we recognize how much we have saved the physical dimension. And the whole reason was I was invited not only to be witness to it, what I've achieved, and now scientists confirm to it, was the girl recognized my voice and responded to my voice. They must have tried this with the voice of the mother. It didn't work. And that was the reason I was called to go to the hospital to be there. And there were sets of questions set by the Cambridge University, the University of Tel Aviv, and the Belgians, and I found out later on a few other universities were involved in this. This was a great impact in bringing somebody back scientifically from coma, and they wanted to see how much is conscious. And I had to read sentences which was written by the scientist for the girl to respond. And the interesting point was recognition of the truth by the brain and by what we call the soul. And the girl was next to a monitor. She didn't need to talk. I had to read these questions, and the scientists monitored the behavior of the fields of the brain. For example, one of the questions was, my name is Julie, and we watched the brain reacting that this is wrong. And then I said, my name, the correct name of the girl, and we saw the reaction. Recognition of the truth. And then that time, 2010, that time, 14, 15 years ago, it was setting the intention and for her to understand the intention. It brought a lot of knowledge, a lot of what you call understanding this process. And clear to me that the voice has connection to the soul. It does not matter if we get a physical response on that. And this was one of the things, first things I tried with Naomi, where I was just outside and asked her to move through connection through the soul. The voice was the tool. And this is interesting for knowledge seekers to understand in the future. Give me a second, I'll find a picture, because I took the picture of this when it was happening with leading scientists from the world in Belgium, sitting around trying to get this, confirming that you can bring physical life back. Just 1 second, please. I tried to show you this picture, and this picture has a lot of significant scientific importance in the life of the Keshe Foundation. Then you understand when we teach how it is. And then later on I found out the reason for this not only was to test the correctness of knowledge by scientists around the world. At that time I was an unknown scientist. only helped just after I came back from Iran with what we call with the space technology. And we electronically monitored the behavior of this girl, how her soul was doing, but they were not monitoring what I was looking at. And I try to show it to you because the face cannot be recognized. And I try to do something with a picture before I show it to you that does not bring any cases against the Keshe Foundation in the future, but those who are mischievous. Let me just correct it in a way, edit it a little bit, that you understand how. Let me see if I can use this pen to do this job. Not good in editing. I need a good person to do this job. Let me see. I don't try to disfigure, but I try to cover. Okay. There's the photo. Now I have to go back to the Zoom and I shared it with you, and then I explained to you a lot of scientific, what we call understanding from the test. And then I found out the reason that this was done, confirming the correctness of this technology, was later on for what we offered to the Israeli Prime Minister at that time. You see the face and you see the diagram below. When you open up, you see how many electrodes. All the dots you see, there are 1 electrodes. It's a couple of hundreds of them connected to the, what we call the skull. They picked up every sensation, every motion, everything the brain could do, and there were monitors after monitors like this, analyzing data next to the girl. Her emotion, her feelings, her response, why, how she responded. And this went on for nearly 8-10 hours in the hospital. She was covered that she has no physical connection. All the connections are the same. She couldn't feel cold, she couldn't feel warm. A special blanket was brought in from Israel, that everything is constant. Scientists spend hundreds of, most probably millions of dollars to create this condition. With this, it was very clear I was looking for something else, because it was the first time I seen the girl after a year. And it was a surprise for me to be invited by the, what you call, by the scientists of the university to be present, because I did the job. They wanted to know how and whatever. That how we are connected to our emotion, and how our emotion connects to our energy within, we call the soul. Scientific way is a lot of receivers, electrodes on this brain. It's hundreds of them. And you can imagine every single one of these electrodes was connected by wire to one point of a monitor. You can imagine what was in that room. And the reason the Israelis did this and got the Cambridge University Prize of Software for it, and they got the Belgians to test it in the University Hospital, was the correctness of the technology that they could bring Sharon, the Prime Minister of Israel, who was in coma, and we offered to help to bring back. They wanted to see if it can be done. If it's correct here, we do. And after a few weeks after this, Sharon, which was the Prime Minister, had a stroke, was also removed privately to this hospital. You can check it on the news. That they start the process of bringing Sharon out of coma. But they didn't ask me to join, they didn't know how to do it. And he ended up with his death. The science of creation is with every single one of us. It's not exclusivity. How to use that science is the key. How to connect the dots. And connecting the dots of life is very easy. Missing a dot is the hardest part. I'm sure you've never seen so many electrodes on a head of a press. It's everywhere. Even goes down her spine in the back. You can see it around the neck. Everything was covered. I sat there and understood more about my work, what I did, and what needed to be done. And after this incident in 2011-12 is where we start hitting the problem with the Belgian monarchy. They wanted how to give life back to them and they stay ever. They didn't understand the misconduct. They brought themselves to them. Now, you understand, even the world scientists are puzzled. 12, 13 years ago, I gave life back to this girl, which I was called by Belgians. And this is one of the cases. Giving life back to this woman took me to court to give me. Giving life in Belgium is criminality. Killing people is the right. This is one of the cases when they brought to court. Why? I gave life to this woman. Their job is just to murder. In the state of Belgium, giving life is a criminality. Unless you are a pedophile violent, or rape young children and you give them life different way. And then you understand why dealing with Naomi was so easy. Any other question?
Okay, thank you. See, what else do we have here? We've got a question in the YouTube.
Do you want to change the screen?
Sure. Okay, a question in YouTube from someone called Your Brother. Says, David Wilcock said everything you said is spot on and was looking forward to work with you soon. Have you heard of him?
Oh, maybe, but no, can't recall. I'm
Okay.
sure our information, this will cover me with the information within the next few minutes. Yes, carry on.
He continues to say, I'm glad we can all work together. We need more of this. Tony in YouTube says, will we connect to the soul faster if we vibrate the throat when doing deep breathing technique?
That's the new one. I presume opera singers have a problem with that.
Okay.
Never
Is there
thought
any
of that. I'll try it next time. I'll tell you when I shout. Oh, maybe they are. Maybe it does.
Next time in the shower when you're singing, you can check on that. Okay.
Do you know what do you know what they say? What's the difference between a normal singer and a Jewish singer in the shower? A normal singer just sings and enjoys. The Jewish singer bangs his head with the wall as well at the same time. Right. I can tell you these things because I'm half Jewish, so they can't blame me to be whatever. Any other question?
From Adaido from the Brazilian community, regarding a beautiful person with two souls inside, would it be possible for one soul to leave first for the light of the Creator and the other to remain?
Yes. Every soul is independent and is approach to Creator the same. Yes. Just because you're imprisoned in one prison cell does not mean all the prisoners are all the same.
Okay, very good. I know we only have a couple of minutes here left. I know you want to keep it down to a 2-hour show today. We have a question from Hong in the Q&A. It's a little bit long. I'll read it though. It says, hello, Mr. Keshe. In book 2, it says, in understanding the function and the fundamental properties of the GANs and molecular GANs, then computing systems can be produced that not only they think the same ways as humans do, but due to their dynamic energy and singular directional rotation, then at this point, the first quantum computing systems can be produced, that these computers will be exact copy of the human brain and muscles in structure with the same multi-neuron cross-linkage and communication channel, as these channels are created as GANs molecular magravs linkage will allow them to have the same simultaneous multi-cross connection that these quantum GANs of molecule structures will be exact parallel systems, as do the human brain in all aspects of a real working structure of logical system, which even they can carry emotions as well as control and logic. So the question is, from Hong, is the principle of quantum computing systems here the same as that of the quantum computer currently being developed by the scientific community? And what does quantum GANs mean here? Thank you very much. You probably have less than a minute now, Mr. Keshe.
No, it's very interesting because I have explained this in many of the recent presentations. You are dead on. You are not even a pinpoint out. The future of the get the future of the what we call, first of all, quantum means smallest part, but the future of the computer, with especially with the new materials which we have developed, will change the world. And the size of a pinhead most probably carry more data than putting all the government of America computers put together. If man understands how to use the new material and how to process it, as we say, all the computers in the world will fit into what you call it, the smallest part of the brain of the man, because the computing of ours is so vast. We haven't managed, if we put all our computers together, we don't even reach doing maybe 1 or 2% of what our brain does. The new materials, because of what even I explained today, free float positioning, will do the new structure with a much more rapid response. We can't even imagine. Yes, it is possible. I promoted in the past 2-3 years to places where I understand. And very recently I was in a conference and the speaker, without knowing it, was referring back to our technology. And I thought, that's nice. They don't know who the inventor is sitting here, because it was never existed before we introduced it to. And there's a South Korean company, very advanced in chip manufacturing, uses Keshe Foundation technology extremely in depth, and they don't reveal how they do it. But as I've been involved with them, I know you'll hear and you'll see even Huawei nowadays is using the Keshe Foundation technique for the production of new dimension chips. But they don't explain it. People don't understand it. But it's the part of the technology, actually the whole lot of it, based on the technology which we left on nanotechnology. Then if you understand it, you can cut into a small piece of it and then expand it and make it a quantum computer, which is within a few layers more powerful than putting all the computers, world computers together, because it's a free positioning. It's like the way I explained about the soul of the man is strong on the other, beyond the connection or locked within the soul of the physicality of the brain of the man. You have to understand why it does, because if you go on the understanding of what I just explained earlier on today, you have a nano layers of material which in fact they have no connection, physical tie to each other. They connect, they vibrate, they expand, and they move according to what this layer and the layer above it allows it. So they can store the whole information of the computers of the world in one space gap, because every other one accommodates it to be. The physical dimension does not sit in another material, sits in the space gap open. Soul of the man, in the brain of the man is this, and runs the whole of the body of the man with the universe. You can imagine what capacity this has. Scientists have not understood this. There's a company, Huawei is working on this extensively in the background. I watched the papers, I watched it, but nobody understands. They're trying to break into this. Then you don't need much to store all the information in the world. And the beauty is this cannot be hacked. The quantum computers, if they understand this and they do it, because whatever you do, this finds its new position if it's not connected to it. And it's very strange how much they take in here. And remember, in one egg and one sperm, we carry the whole process of every single cell within the body of the man and its connection to outside. In that little tiny egg and a sperm, if you look at it, carries how every single cell of your body needs to be, how the structure of your heart has to be, how it has to work. All that information of a creation sits in that little tiny thing. Now you can imagine this gap in and out. Amazing times in development of the sciences is still left to come, if man understands this. And this is like a soul of the man. It's no different. Any other question?
Okay, thank you. Well, if you're willing to continue, we have a couple more questions here. We have from...
I left the screen to you.
Okay. We have a question from Paul in German, translated to, can animals think or just feel? Thank you very much.
Do you mean about the human animals or just animals? As much as a man can think, he thinks he's the king of the animals. So does an ant, a worm, a fish. But it depends what you think about. Of course they react. If they couldn't think, if you put your foot on their tail, they run or they bite you. So, of course they think. It's not exclusivity of man or this planet.
These scientists had to redefine the word bird brain and take it out of the dictionary. They want it removed because they discovered there is no such thing, that birds actually are quite intelligent, it turns out. It's just they weren't asking the right questions of them, apparently.
No problem. I wonder one day if publicly we bring out the what I call our friends in the space that man can see, what questions our panelists and our people ask them. Or would they believe in them, what they tell them? Or we treat them the way we treat each other on this planet. We're all foreigners to each other. And mistrust has brought us mistrust in ourselves, not with the others. Any other question?
Filippo in the Q&A asks, hello, Mr. Keshe, can you please expand a little on the monomagnetic and monogravitational work?
Let me know when you understand. There is no mono system. It's how you play the trick with the fields. You don't show it where it is the other part. Well, I explained this very easy. It's like you standing in front of a group of people and you're just seeing their faces. Where is their backside? Or just because you see their front, no back exists. It depends where you're standing and how well they have hidden the other side from you. Monopole, mono field is all those who take you for a ride on the trick. Because there's always another point, otherwise this doesn't exist. And because you don't understand the work of fields, they trick you with a matter state. Any other
Okay, Jefferson. How about one more from Jefferson here? This got an interesting question. Jefferson Modesto from Brazil says, thank you very much for your presence among us. My question is, when we transmute and decide to recreate a physicality in another point in the universe, our soul will be trapped in that physicality and disconnected from the fields of the universe, just as it is now in this physicality that we have here on planet Earth. Or our consciousness is higher and this new physicality will not be a barrier to our souls? Thank you very much.
No, you will not. And this cannot happen. You can allow the physicality at a point to dominate. That's this is what we done on Earth. We gave that. When I used to teach some 20 odd years ago, when I explained that the soul of the man is a leech, the physicality of the man is a leech on the soul of the man, people couldn't understand. More and more people understand, because now we can explain the soul of the man is in the body of the man. It depends on us how we allow this leech to, in a way, decide not to take over. There's no takeover. And so even if you manifest in another dimension, it depends what you decide, what the soul decides in its benefit at a time, place. Not the other way around. And you don't become imprisoned in it because you gave physical life to it. Thank you very much for today. And hopefully we meet each other next week. And we'll see what more we can share to understand.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you for another Knowledge Seekers workshop here. All right. Well, this has been number 545 in a continuous weekly series of workshops. And we look forward to next week, the same, probably be back to the 9 a.m. time for next week, so far as we know, Mr. Keshe.
You never know. You never know. But
okay, well.
No, it's just the reason for past couple of weeks, or when it happens, I have to make presentations. And when that happens, it's very important to be there for the presentation or research, or which we cannot, so we don't know at the last minute if there is such a situation, and that's where usually primarily we change the time.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll keep it open for that.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for being here for today's workshop. And our next public teaching workshop is the 92nd public meeting for testimonials, which is coming up on Monday, July 8th. And that starts at the 8 p.m. Central European Summertime time slot. And we welcome people from all languages to attend that meeting. It will need a translator to English if you have another language. And if you have an experience of the plasma technology that you would like to share with others, then that's the perfect time to do so. And we welcome videos and images of the experience that you have so that we can easily share it with those others. So again, on Monday, July 8th, starting at 8 p.m. Okay, I think that's it for now. Let's go out with our usual flight enhancement spaceship unit music version. Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you in the next public teaching workshop. Bye for now.